Listen up. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the podcast participants, and not to any participant's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. You know, for fun. So lighten up and enjoy. Stomping Jen.
Sawtooth ring.
There you are, sitting over here on a couch once again for another episode of the Soft Serve podcast. I am very excited. We have musicians.
I love musicians.
Yeah, me too. I love music.
You do?
Yes.
Great.
We've argued before. I have a much better musical taste than you do. A broader,
I'm not sure that that's true.
A broader range of artists that I appreciate. And
that's true.
This band that we're going to talk to is called High Tea. And
we're drinking tea right now.
We are drinking tea. I'm drinking an Assam tea.
Right.
It is
not a high tea, though.
It's not High Tea. That's the name of the band we're talking to. But Assam tea is a multi-aromatic, strong tea. Okay. I'm enjoying it. And we're going to talk to High Tea, who are Isabella, DeHerdt, and Isaac Eliot. Okay, and we're going to talk more. And we're going to learn all about them. They're going to play us some songs.
I like songs.
We're going to play a song. This is going to be great.
I love it.
Many questions for them.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. The Soft Serve Podcast. Creamy, delicious ideas without the creepy truck. Stomping Jen, I'm back to singing for you again.
I think we should let the musicians
I probably shouldn't sing.
I know.
Because we have actual musicians on the show.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
You're just embarrassing yourself now.
Well, that's what this is all about, isn't it?
That's right.
Without further ado, let us say hello to our guests. High Tea. Hello.
Hello. I think your singing is wonderful.
I fully support singing.
I think you should do a few songs and we will interview you today.
Oh,
there we go.
I like the way the tables have turned.
Flipping the script.
Yes.
But we are so excited to be here. We're so excited to talk to you guys tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, Isabella and Isaac, for joining us. I want to tell folks, we were at, where were we? A food truck festival, Stomping Jen? We saw High Tea performing, and I was captivated by the music.
Yes.
And I had to go over and introduce myself and ask them to come on the podcast, and they graciously agreed. So here they are. So I just wanted to start by asking you both, how are you doing?
We are good. What day is it? Thursday? It's almost the end of the week. We got shows this weekend. We've been playing out a lot, recording, doing all kinds of things. Yeah. So we are good. How are you doing, Isaac?
I'm good. I am, thinking through the things you got to think through to live life. So
that's true.
Pushing through, but having
learning
a good time
how to live in adulthood as people who have just recently graduated college, or for me, moved out of home, and learning how to live life like that, which is a very interesting transition, but we get to do music throughout. So that's our yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So along that lines, about just learning a little bit more about you, Isabella, you said you just recently graduated from college.
Yes.
And you're out there kind of doing the music thing. Anything else you want to tell us about yourself so we can get to know you a little bit more?
That is it. And you got my whole existence right there. I just graduated from Wellesley College outside of Boston this past June. Feels like it was lifetimes ago with the pandemic and whatnot. But I'm a full-time musician now. I work for a booking agency. I work for an artist management company, and I get to write and record with this guy and with my other groups and solo. And it's just been wonderful for that to be my whole life right now.
That's awesome.
And, got my parents down the road, some dogs, stuff like that. So lots of family time, lots of music. That's me.
That's awesome. Isaac, anything you want to let us know about yourself?
I really love music.
What?
Yeah, crazy. I know. No, my current academic path, if you could call it that, is an online bachelor's in mental health and psychology. Long term, I'd love to be a therapist. I don't know if that will come to be for a little bit. I was long term wanting to be a massage therapist, and for a little before that, I was long term wanting to be a video game designer. And there's a lot of cool stuff in the world. So that's what
true.
I'm going towards right now.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
If it helps, I'm on my third career pursuit.
true.
Yeah,
Ooh.
podcasting.
Fantastic.
So, I think that's a signal of a healthy mind. Is always
I agree.
trying to find a new pursuit. So, when did you both start playing music? Like, when did you get interested in singing and becoming musicians?
I remember, I have a very specific memory of being, I think, like 4 or 5 years old, and my parents brought home a little red toy piano. It's one of those ones where the keys don't do much. Mostly you press the buttons and it plays songs that are already, uploaded to the piano, and you can be like, oh, music, I'm doing it. And I remember having that, and it had a version of Let It Be by the Beatles that it would play. And I would listen to that on repeat for hours and hours. And I just remember going, oh, I love this. What is this? What is this thing that's happening to my ears that I'm enjoying so much? And from there, I started violin lessons. It wasn't very good, but, I got roots somewhere. And when we moved out here, I worked with June Millington at the Institute for the Institute for the Musical Arts in Goshen, Mass. And she taught me everything I know now about guitar and performance. I met my first band there and just started doing this, and I have not stopped since. So that was my route.
That's
And
awesome.
I've been basically singing since I was tiny. Singing is my main thing. I like to try to do other things, but I will always constantly return to vocal harmony. I was lucky enough to have one of my mom's, like her whole family, just be kind of a barbershop quartet. So I have some memory of being tiny and visiting family and looking up at them kind of just starting to habitually sing together and having a not dissimilar, oh my God, what the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah, of the moment.
The air around me is vibrating, and
Yeah.
if I sing, I can be part of it.
Yeah.
And that was just incredible. So I've been in choirs ever
Forever.
since. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
and
even know how that was.
yeah, that's awesome. Music stomping, Jen. Do you remember when you fell in love with music?
No.
Like, you wanted to be in the music industry.
I wanted to be in the music business.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to discover artists. And
Yeah.
like, like back in the day when like the music industry like was a
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Like but that never happened
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So
Do you still love the Beatles, Isabella?
I think that, not to go on a tangent, as we get older, we learn things about people we look up to, or musicians or artists, and you learn that, no one's perfect and people make mistakes, to put it lightly. And I think there are some songs of theirs that I still adore and I love, but, with the art comes the people and comes the things that, that you may not agree with about what they do or what music they, co-opt and whatnot. So, to not switch the conversation completely, I do still appreciate their music, but I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, and the Beatles in particular, and people from that era are especially complicated,
Yes, honestly.
to say the least, right?
Oh, yeah.
what about you?
What about me?
What about your love?
I remember the moment I fell in love with music and like attached myself to a style and a band.
You attached yourself.
Yeah, let me tell you about
sound
this.
like a leech.
I walked up the street. I was 14 or 15. I walked up the street to a friend's house, and their uncle gave me a cardboard box full of 8 tracks. And because I had told him, I just put an 8-track in my bedroom. He's like, here, take this. In that box was Pink Floyd's Animals. I plugged it in. I lay down on my bed and I turned it on, and it blew my mind. I'd never heard anything like it before. And I fell in love with Pink Floyd.
Right.
And that's kind of been my desert island band.
Yeah.
I would take
Right.
probably.
I got it.
You got it?
I got that. I got that reference.
So yeah, that was the moment for me though. I remember it and I remember being like, I've never heard anything like this in my life.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love so much about music is that like I feel like I've had that moment with like
So
at
many
least
bands.
11 different bands. Like of just like, wait, you can do this with sound too?
Yeah.
Explosions in the Sky comes to mind. But just like, I don't, yeah. Yep.
By whom?
No, the
that
band
the
Explosions in
band?
the Sky.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're like entirely, I mean, they like soundtracked Friday Night Lights and stuff.
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're like 3 guitars and a bass and drums. And it's like entirely instrumental.
That's so interesting.
15-minute tracks that are super operatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Called things like Your Hand in Mine and First Breath After a Coma.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did High Tea come together? Tell us a little bit about that.
High Tea came together, I think, almost out of, not necessity, but out of convenience, because we've known each other since we were 17, so it feels like a long time. And we met at the Berklee College of Music like summer program, their 5-week summer program back in, 2016 or something. And though we both played music and, were musical people, we became friends first before, band members. And we knew each other for a long time. And then when the pandemic hit, my band at the time was scattered all over, and so we weren't going to be able to play. And Isaac and I were like, we could live together, we can pod up, and we can do this. We can make this happen. For the first time, we had the time and the space to actually put energies toward that. So that's what we did. We spent the whole summer writing and arranging and recording our first 11 tracks. And
fully in-house.
Yeah, fully in our little 2-room apartment near my parents' house, just throwing ourselves into learning about each other in a musical sense more than just as friends and as people in each other's lives. And that's really how it started. We haven't looked back. We've been playing live now since this summer, since it felt safe. And, we're doing all kinds of things now. But it was friends to bandmates, if you will.
Yeah, that's amazing, because when I saw you performing live, you looked like you've been doing this a long time, like very well polished.
It's very appreciated.
Yes.
I think another beautiful thing about music is it's like you get to hone your craft and then bring whatever progression you've brought to bigger bands. Like I don't know. As I said, I love harmonies. I love vocal harmonies. I really love dynamics and building and stuff like that. And those these little polished things that like you're an incredible songwriter and lyricist, if I may, from within the project.
And then you need the person who has the mindset for where the song builds, where the crescendo occurs, And we both brought our sensibilities that we'd honed in very different ways in very different environments to a new project where we could play off of each other and work together in a new way.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's super cool.
Now, is there a story behind the selection of your band name, High Tea? I'm a big fan of tea, so I am pleased that you selected High Tea.
There's what the band name means to a few different people.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's how it was selected, which
it's just my mom. My mom. Isn't it always the mom?
Literally.
We were trying to, because that was the first step, right? We were like, okay, we're going to get together. We're going to live together. We're going to make an album. What the hell are we called? What are we? What are we?
Somewhat into making the album. There was some music there, so you had a vibe to go off.
We had a vibe. We had a visual idea. I think that's really where it started, is we had this concept of a photo shoot that we ended up doing and bringing to fruition with the amazing Kim Gibbons, who's another musician and photographer from the area, where we wanted to take the idea of a tea party and flip it upside down, kind of like that grungy Alice in Wonderland feel.
Yeah.
And do something a little more punk with it, but have that air of a high tea, of that, kind of just high society gathering, but with this twist of rock and roll. Yeah. So we had this idea of what we wanted for artwork, but then we hadn't actually put together tea party, high tea, connecting the red lines on the wall. But my mom said, what about this? It's an easy thing to remember. It's 2 quick words. It's not, no one's going to need to really know how to spell it, hopefully. Because sometimes band names, you just have no idea what the heck people are saying or how to remember it or what to Google. And so we were like, this is simple. This is easy. This will go on stickers. And it kind of encapsulates the feelings around this album and around what we're doing with our music.
And I love the duality also just of of a high tea, of substances, if you will, that are entirely acceptable to be consumed in most of society, and also the little fun twist of high tea.
Yes, we did say we could just be holding joints on the front of the album cover. That was the other idea.
Yeah. So
that'll be down the road a bit.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your album cover. It's for your album Hell of a Ride, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it's available on Apple Music. I have it pulled up right here on my iPad on Apple Music, so people, you can go listen to it there. You can buy it there. I subscribe to this Apple Music plan, so I had to pay nothing, Stomping Jen. So it just came right up.
Oh, so you're stealing music.
No, we paid for it.
It's all inclusive.
So they're gonna.
You brought the people you're stealing it from on your podcast.
Yes. So I think we've talked a little bit about high tea. We've met Isabella and Isaac. Let's hear some of this music, Stomping Jen. So I'm excited for this. This might be our first live performance on the podcast.
I need some scones.
Ooh. Okay, so whenever you're ready, I'm going to shut up and we're going to listen to you now.
All right, this is a song, a newish song called O'er My Skin. It's going to be on our acoustic EP that is coming out hopefully soon if we can pull our shit together. And it is a song I wrote in my last month or so of college, basically about growing up. And I'd like to say it's not only during these times of major transition, like, actually growing up and getting older, but I think we all hit this no matter where you are in life and what age you are. But those points where you're really like, where am I going? Am I going in the right direction? Should I be going off on that road? Should I be trying this? Should I be, changing career paths or something like that? And you have to always come back to that sense of reminding yourself that whatever your path is, it is the right one for you and you will get to where you were meant to be going. You asked me what I dreamed last night. I dreamed a brick, I dreamed a stone, I dreamed of trying to build a life. A cabin in the woods, I can rest these bones for good, holding me just right.
You ask me when I look far away, what I see over yonder, past the hills and family graves. My future through the mist, I see all my little list, telling me I'll find my way. But I don't know where that means I'm supposed to go. I've always been the last one in the pack, and the changing of the leaves bends its way down onto me, saying there's so many storms left in your path, and there's so many storms rolling past. Ooh, I can't help it. I can't change these heavy winds. Ooh, I can only lift my feathers on my skin to keep me dry when rain comes pouring in. Ooh, you ask me what reminds me of home. I say candles deep of evergreen and skipping river stones, teapots on the table, bookshelves filled with fables, heavy leather bound kind of tone. But I don't know where that means I'm supposed to go. I've always been the slowest of the flock, and the bending of the grass tells me nothing ever lasts. But I believe that every storm rolls on. Yeah, I believe the roots of grown strong.
I can't help it. I can't change these heavy winds. Ooh, I can only lift my feathers on my skin to keep me dry when rain comes pouring in. I'll build a house. I'll build a house. I'll build a home. I'll build a home. I'll build with help, and I can build alone. I'll make my bed. I'll make my bed. I'll settle my dreams. I'll settle my dreams. I'll leave no debt. I got nothing left to prove, and I got nothing left to lose.
God damn it. Fuck Pink Floyd.
The highest compliment.
Oh my goodness. Oh, did we lose?
Uh-oh.
Did they freeze?
I hope it wasn't our internet.
Oh no.
Well, we got the whole performance. Maybe they'll come back. Uh-oh. Did we lose the internet?
Oh,
You're there. We
can
got
you
it.
hear us?
Yeah.
hello.
Great.
We
Yeah,
just-
way to jump right at the end.
We just missed Isaac's exclamation. Yes.
Oh no.
It was very much it was probably just a very enthusiastic laugh. I've already
Yeah.
forgotten. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
You'll
all
get
right.
another one.
That gave me goosebumps.
I got the
The
goosebumps.
goosey bumps.
God
That was
dang it.
ridiculous. Yeah.
That's always the goal, so we're glad to hear it. The
Oh.
goosebumps.
No, the biggest for me, like the biggest personal mission of doing music in any public sense is just the progression of my personal agenda, which is to get more people to be emotionally vulnerable in public and or in publicly visible spaces.
Yeah.
Because I think it should be supported.
We want
Yeah.
people to cry. So we sing songs. No. No, I don't mean to undermine you. I think that's a very
Oh, yeah,
important
yeah.
goal.
Oh, that was amazing. So about that song, you said you wrote that when you were back in college?
Yeah, I wrote that right in the last semester while I was packing up my room and saying, oh, God, what now? You know, the existential dread we always face in those kind of moments. And I just, was like, storms are going to happen and the wind's going to want to knock you over sometimes, but you just got to keep believing in your abilities and your strength and, all of those good things.
Would you say, like, where do you draw your inspiration from songs? Is it experiences like that? Are the experiences that you're engaged in your muses, sort of?
I think easy answer, yes. Less easy answer, it's such a mix, and I'm sure many musicians feel this way. If I just wrote about the things that I've experienced, I think my storytelling would be quite limited, since I'm only one soul and going on one path and have only done specific things. So there's we have a song, for instance, about like an old cowboy. I'm like, that's not me, but I'd like to imagine. I like to create these worlds and create these characters. When I was little, I used to love to write songs about my favorite TV shows, or my favorite books. I wrote a lot of songs about The Walking Dead. That was a big one for me. But, finding inspiration both from my own, whatever I'm going through, what I see friends and family going through, and then creating worlds and creating characters to tell stories that I might not directly have experience with, but that I want to explore.
Well, and I think that, the inspiration isn't necessarily the experience, but it's also just the reflection on the concepts gained from it. Like, the thing I love about Old Cowboy is that it essentially poses two characters with conflicting worldviews and conflicting ideas of how to deal with the same difficulties. One, to simplify, one dwells and one doesn't. And that's
unlike the bad shit they've done in life.
Yeah,
that's the
massive
easy way to
limitation.
describe it. Yeah,
exactly. But when it comes down to it, like, just by living our lives, we will come into contact with space where our existence is coming in directly in the way of someone else's or someone else's wanted existence.
And you confront that,
and confronting those emotions. You you have to acknowledge them to some extent. So it's fun to use fantasy to kind of explore
those kinds of interpersonal or things that you may run into at some point in life. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite songwriters are people who are putting themselves in the shoes of others, right? And like kind of writing, they're being writers, about other people. Like I love Bruce Springsteen, right? But he didn't grow up in Detroit, right? But he wrote a whole album about like the poverty and desperation of the Midwest, right? And those songs are just these like bleak stories about all of these individual people, right? Mm-hmm. He's a writer, and he's also a great musician. So I love that it sounds like you kind of take a storyteller approach to your songwriting.
Yeah. The way that I like to think of it, I want to write songs, or, my goal is to write songs that see the listeners in a sense. Like I never want to be, in some songs I am very specific, like this is a character named Rosie and she's running away from a town because they think she's a witch, or things that are slightly up to interpretation about how it might make you feel, but the story is quite specific. But other songs, I want to write them in such a way that people who don't have the same experience as me can listen to them and find a piece of themselves within it, or can find some connection to something they're going through. Though it may not be exactly what they've experienced, they can connect with it and feel those feelings through the music. So that's always the goal for me, is to write things that will, be able to be interpreted in many different ways by different people who will listen to it.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about the process of writing a song. So you've got an idea, you've been hit out of the blue with some sort of inspiration, or you've said, I want to write a song about this thing. Like, how do you go about writing a song?
Oh God, how do I go about writing a song? I mean, you've seen me do it, so you might have an outward experience of it.
I think there are, first of all, to clarify, there are so many different ways to write a song that it's almost a disservice to the process to try to describe like the way that one writes a song, because they're just like I don't know. I have written a bunch of songs in my life that are you have a whole night and at 3 a.m. you start playing on the piano and some words come out. Yeah. And I've had songs that are this vague conceptual idea that doesn't form for 3 months and then starts kind of making sense and I think that no matter what, like what I could identify as a single thing, and speak to this from internally, because this is much more observational. I think there's desperation's too harsh of a word, but when a song starts coming out, there is
it's fleeting. It's a fleeting moment.
Exactly.
At the beginning.
An excitement and energy.
And you go, oh shit, that's something right there. Record that.
It's like getting I say this as a vegetarian who doesn't fish, but it's like getting a bite on a fishing line, and like it's that moment of like, like
what
this might
does
be
that
working.
feel like, guys? Like you've never gone fishing.
I have no fucking clue.
No. I think you're so right, but I also think what you said before. It's almost like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here, but it's like some songs are like a baby, where it like grows for 9 months and it's painful and difficult, and you're like, is it ever like, what's it going to be in the long run? Is it ever going to be what I'm imagining it? Like for me, my songwriting happens in a few different ways. Sometimes it starts to boil it down to the instrumental. Sometimes I'll have a guitar lick that I love and I'll say, okay, I want to build off of this. And so I sit with it for a bit and I ruminate on what could fit with it. And I always try and make sure that, I have space for lyrics while I'm writing the music, but usually I'm impatient, so I start coming up with melodies on top of it. The other side is when it comes to the writing, because I love writing poetry and writing prose. So sometimes things start with a story where I say, I really want to write a story about a girl named Heather and, a person watching her need to go off into the world and, find the things that will fulfill her and not knowing what those things are going to be, maybe be scared for her, but want to let her go, and I say, okay, I want to write about this idea, this experience. What am I going to say? And how do I make it rhyme? That's always the thing, is how does this rhyme? But I think you've really hit the nail on the head about the beginning experience, no matter where you are, whether it's music, whether it's lyrics, whether it's anything in between. There is this moment of like, I've got something. I got to capture it. So I have hundreds of voice memos on my phone of just 30-second or even less than that ideas that have yet to come to fruition, but are there and they're waiting for me to come back to them and give them life in a sense. Because you have that moment of like, oh, this could be something. I feel it. I feel the energy moving through it.
Which I do think also makes songwriting then a process of the relationship between you and that feeling.
Absolutely.
Trying to not want it so badly that it
you
retreats.
Get yourself stuck. Yeah, exactly.
Trying to not grasp for it so desperately that it refuses to be held, and just kind of letting something out.
It's just like a relationship.
Noticing that excitement.
So you can try to go after an idea too aggressively and
absolutely.
And you squash it.
And squash it.
Yeah.
Like a bug.
And I'm sure, yep. I'm sure this is true for so many creatives or just people in general. Anything, when you want something so badly, sometimes you get in your own way. And I go, I need a word that rhymes with whatever, and you psych yourself out and you get, either you don't have any ideas or the ideas you come up with feel very rigid. And that's when you need to say, all right, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to look at it tomorrow with fresh eyes, fresh ears, and something will come to me.
It's the same feeling as when you forgot what you were going to say and you're trying to remember it.
Yeah.
It's like if you hold on to it too hard, if you're like seeking it out, like
it's
it doesn't.
gone. It's gone.
No.
But in 10 minutes, you'll be like, oh yeah,
exactly. If you let it go,
or whatever the word
relax
was.
into it. Exactly. You'll remember avocados.
Exactly.
And sometimes you make that deliberate decision. Well, I'm just going to move on, and it will pop back in some form, like later. Yeah, that's interesting. Can you read and write music?
Yes. I say yes very boldly. I haven't done it in a while. But I went abroad with Berkeley and I got to really dive into the side of actual theory. And I was a jazz major, so I had to do all that stuff, which is good. It informed a lot of my songwriting and just broadened my abilities. But I don't do it on a day-to-day basis anymore.
Yeah. I know my way around written chords. I can figure them out. I'm good at sight reading single lines. I have a one-track mind, and I've been in choirs for a long time, so I can do that. But that's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
Stomping Jen, you took music theory.
I did.
Did you learn anything about music from it, that has informed your enjoyment or understanding of music?
No, I was truly interested in it, and I really loved learning about it. And then the minute I left school and didn't do anything with it, it promptly left my brain.
Yeah. Isabella, has knowing music theory or studying it informed your approach to music as an artist?
Yes. It basically, the way that my college guitar teacher Steve Kirby described it is it's like having a toolbox and you're adding tools. So when you learn a different modal a different scale or a different way to form a chord on the guitar, even though that might not be where the song starts, you're giving yourself tools. So in those moments where you don't know where it's supposed to go, you can open your toolbox and say, what if I tried this technique, or what if I tried doing this kind of 5/7, or whatever it is that may help send you in the right direction. And it also is good to know your way around theory so that you don't, or at least for me, so I don't get stuck writing the exact same things. So I have a lot of different avenues of different sounds or different chord structures I can try if I feel like I'm being repetitive.
Yeah, Isaac, you were talking a little bit before about that moment where you might get stuck and you have to be willing to let it go. Are there creative techniques that you employ to maybe help you think about an idea differently or approach it from a different perspective?
I'm a person who likes thinking about things a lot. I like
thinking.
My cousin one time texted me something along the I think this is true, but I just want to make sure. And I loved how he said it. He said you're the kind of person who likes thinking about things, right? But he capitalized thinking and things. And I think about too. But the point there is just I think it is that stepping back. It is that space of rumination. It is that and this is obviously on a more conceptual level, but it is that that honoring the idea that whatever's in front of you has a mass to it that you can't see yet, and that if you step back and are more gentle with your approach, you'll discover it.
It's like a stray dog. You can't just run at it screaming. You have to build up trust. And, and I think also when it comes to the practical level, like I know whenever a lot of times I have lyrics and music, but I hate the melodies I'm coming up with. And once I get a melody that I just keep singing, it gets stuck in my head and I have a lot of trouble kind of going off from it or finding something new. So I wait till Isaac's there and then I say, hey, here are the lyrics. I'm going to play the chords. You sing over it because you're so good at coming up with melodies and you obviously have a different musical mind than me. So your brain's going to go in different directions than mine will and you won't get stuck in the same patterns that I do. So I love working with other musicians for that reason, one of the reasons is because I love getting people's new takes and fresh perspectives on my writing. So that's something I like to do.
Alternatively, on a super technical level, like if you are just finding yourself getting stuck, a lot of the time the theory can help in like these small ways where like I tend to stuff a lot of words into one space. So like even the simple idea of like I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to make each word be a much more emphasized thing by letting it take 20 seconds. Like I'm going to sing through this whole word and that's going to be the entirety of the breath that I have. And then we're going to go to the next bit is like a massive and immediate, just like my melody is going to be different then.
It's kind of like, I think it's what, I want to say Coco Chanel said, you put everything on in the morning, you put all of your, earrings, jewelry, whatever, and then you take one thing off. So you do everything and then you start removing to pare it down to what's important. And it's kind of like that with songwriting. Like one of the big things is that, write with a lot of words, you have a lot of ands, that's, ifs, whats, buts. And then at the end, you just cross them all out. You get rid of them, you clear it up so that the message is straight ahead, and you don't get bogged down with the messiness that comes out the first time you're creating something.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about your album. We mentioned it before, Hell of a Ride. Talk to us about that. How did that come about?
I think we were like on the phone. I was like, you want to do an album? And you were like, yeah, sure. I had a lot of songs. I had so many songs building up through the pandemic when I was alone and I couldn't really be working with other musicians. And I had so many songs that I wanted to either finish or polish. So, we would just sit out back in the backyard on our picnic blanket and sing through stuff. And, Isaac would say, that one hits, or that one could be something, or like, that one's not quite there. And we started building up what our album would end up being. Yeah.
I think it's also just another thing I love about music is just when someone makes an album, when an artist puts that much of themselves out there, regardless of how much it's like a diary type thing, regardless of how much someone is like, I'm going to put my life out there, you're putting a lot of work into a piece of art that is extensive. And that means it's going to be reflective in a lot of ways of the environment it was created within, of the part of your life that you were in when you were making it, of the arc you were going through at the time. So there's just a lot of like kind of accidental I'm blanking on the word. Kind of accidental vulnerability, I will say, from like the sheer amount. Like I think "Hell of a Ride" captures it well.
It was a hell of a ride to make that album.
And like the title track ended up being one that we like play the least often. And like it was a subversion of expectations through and through, again and again.
Absolutely.
Did you ever question whether or not you should put out a full album in this day of singles? Like I love the album. I love sitting down and listening to an album from beginning to end because I think often it captures, like you were saying, it captures a place and a time for an artist. And I especially love albums that try to tackle bigger ideas, right? Like the concept album. So I'm curious if you ever grappled with whether or not you should put out like a full album, because this is like 12 songs or so, like it's a full album. Like
I think so. This is an interesting conversation that happens between a lot of musicians that I know. It's that with the world we live in now with social media and the way that music is distributed and the way that artists gain and keep audiences, there's these two different paths, and of course lots of places in the middle, but two very specific paths you can go on. And one is doing the album, let's say an album every year, or two, releases every year. And in that way, you get audiences that will sit down, just like you said, sit down and consume your work like that and really dive into whatever the map is that you've kind of put out in front of them. The other thing a lot of people talk about is how singles will keep people coming back. You put out one thing, you don't overwhelm them, and then they come back the next month for another one. They come back the next month for the other one. Mm-hmm. The issue with that is the problem of possible oversaturation of your audience, of them not coming back because they just get tired of having to listen month after month. So I think there's a lot of pros and cons to doing it all different ways. But we recorded the album, and as we were doing it, we also put out live videos of some of the songs because, we hadn't performed or released anything before. So it was hey, this is us now. This is the thing we're doing to get people interested to build up to the album.
Well, and aside from all of the kind of logistical worries about, like if you're putting out a song every 2 weeks, you're pumping stuff out, then by the time you start doing live shows, one of the songs on your set is going to be crazy old, one of them's going to be grand. Aside from all the logistical troubles, I think there's also just two kind of groupings of objectives. There's the objectives of artistry, which aren't necessarily I'm going to put out a whole album, but they are I'm going to let whatever current project I'm on take however long it needs to take. And then there are the objectives, the sadly inherent objectives, in my subjective opinion, of capitalism. I want to play music and support us. I want to have an audience, and I also really want to create things for myself and things that are emotionally relevant to me. But I want people to respond enough that they want to keep coming back and listening for more. And that group of objectives makes you want to put out more music more consistently. It makes you want to,
And I think when it came down to it for us, we just, it was our first time diving into writing and recording songs together. And we wanted to almost do it in bigger chunks of time, where we take 3 months to record, and then a month to mix, and then a month to, distribute it. Because that gave us time to really settle in and figure out what we were doing musically. Like if we put out singles, I don't know if we would have known what our sound was from the beginning. We needed time to work through that and figure it out. And even now it's changing, Yeah. So that gave us time to really find our voices within high tea.
Do you feel like you're finding your audience after starting to put stuff out there and get videos? And I noticed you have you got a strong social media game. Like, do you feel like you're?
That's me at 7 a.m. saying I need to put a picture on our Instagram, on our feed.
Yeah.
I think I'd love to say yes. I'd love to think that people are responding and liking our music. I think we've gotten a lot more, we've gotten to meet a lot more people and gain interest in our music through live shows.
Yeah.
That's the thing I love to do. I love performing live. I love getting to meet people after shows or seeing reactions real time to the music. And I think that's the way we've gained a lot of followers and interest this past summer,
Absolutely. I think live shows, sorry.
No, go.
I'm just basically going to second the thoughts. I think live shows are kind of the ultimate. You can put out music as much as you want, but standing in front of people and seeing their genuine emotional reaction when, in their mind they're observing you and you are simply a figure doing your thing is wildly revealing in a lot of ways,
and builds that connection.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. Now, when you go back and you start pouring through our old episodes, Isabella and Isaac, you will learn I'm somebody who I hate a crowd, right?
You hate a crowd?
I am crowd phobic. And often that inhibits me from enjoying live music, right?
What?
Now follow me here, Stomping Jen. Just a minute. I'm telling a story. Okay. Now,
yes, go ahead.
A couple years back before the pandemic, Stomping Jen says to me, I want you to go see Slayer with me. And I was like, Slayer? I've never heard a Slayer song in my life. What are you talking about? I don't want to see this Slayer. Well, I went there because I'm going to be in trouble if I don't go. And this band starts playing, and they've got the Devils, and they've got all this stuff. It was one of the greatest, most fun shows I've ever seen. And it was like, because you feel the music in your body, and it's like blasting through you, and there are people around you.
The energy of the crowd.
Jumping around and doing devil horns. And like, there
was a mosh pit.
There's something about the live experience, right? Like
Absolutely.
Do you know who has the more eclectic musical taste?
I won't answer that. We've established
Pink
it.
Floyd versus Slayer, a battle.
Yeah. And I think, even when I was, even when I was watching you, when you both play, like there's something, and I think this is somehow in our DNA, like anthropologically.
You're talking about music?
And telling stories through music, and we're drawn to it, right?
Can I go off in a weird kind of tangent?
What is it?
Absolutely.
Please do.
So my life experience has largely revolved around. I'll try to be in some way cohesive or concise here. Has largely revolved around tension and the release of tension, and I mean that in so many ways, but that's not even part of the tangent. So one of the things that I loved about massage school was learning about muscles and how they store tension, and a big thing that kind of clicked into place at that point was realizing how important vibration is. Vibration is the release of tension. It is,
So when you're at a show, when you're in a
pluck
crowd,
a guitar string, you're going from tense to pulling it to one side and letting it go.
Yeah.
Like it is, when it comes down to it, and like that, like there are techniques, like massage techniques, that involve literally just shaking someone, but trying to do it in this way where you're pushing their muscles in one direction just long enough that they decide to start rebounding back, and then you're increasing the motion in that direction so that they rebound that way. Basically, it's increasing vibration, and I think that's what draws us to music as an art, is that it's not. As an overarching category, it is sound art. It is vibrations that, when they're big enough and vast enough, we can feel them going through our bodies.
Yeah.
And then you expand that to being if you like crowds, and you can expand that to being in like a mosh pit or something, and feeling the collective. You were part of an us. You were part of a whole group, feeling that exact same release of tension.
The energy.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to interrupt, because your tangent, there's an actual quote by one of my favorite artists.
What is it?
Exactly that. Ooh. You'd have to look it up, but it's Maynard James Keenan.
Tool.
Yes, of Tool fame.
Yeah.
And he said something similar about the friction. Like, he has a whole quote about it, like how you take a string from a violin and you pull it, and it's very taut, and it's, across. You'd have to look it up, because I'm going to butcher it. But it's exactly that concept of the friction and the tension and the release of sound.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you go to record a song, I imagine that's a different thing than playing it live. And how do you approach that differently? I
think, oh God.
Well,
to be candid, a lot more anxiety. When I play live, it is going to happen. It's going to happen in the moment, and that moment is going to be done. And yes, people may capture on phones or something like that, but nothing beats the fact that you'll never play a song the same way you did in those 3 minutes. When you're recording, you're trying to capture that feeling perfectly, almost, You're trying to capture exactly at each moment what the epitome of that moment should sound like. Yeah. And I think that can add some anxiety to the process, but we've always recorded. We haven't recorded in a recording studio yet, so we have not yet faced the time limit of you are paying to be there for a specific amount of time. We record next to our dining room table, so we can be there for as long as we want, and that's really good in some ways. And God, that's bad in some ways.
That's amazing to me, because your recordings sound amazing. like they were done in a studio.
Oh, I appreciate that. It was done literally in our living room with one microphone, one condenser microphone.
Sweat and tears.
And blood. Sweat, tears, blood, anything
blood
else.
Is probably blood at some point.
And my poor ears they were fatigued by the end. But I learned so much about mixing and producing and engineering and all that stuff. And I learned I would never want to do that for a job. But I appreciate the people who do so much. But yes, so the time that you get when you do the kind of recording we do, which was just solo, is wonderful. It's a blessing and a curse because you can do so much, but also where do you stop? When does it stop? When is it correct, And we were able to find that sweet spot of, knowing when to let go and let God, if you will, or just, say, yes, this is it. This is what we sound like. And this is what we want to sound like. This process of recording our upcoming acoustic EP has been a bit more relaxed just because we didn't want to get it out on a strict deadline and we don't have as many instruments as involved. And, the songs are a bit easier to record. In my humble opinion, they're not like loud or raucous, and those are always easier to just record from the technical standpoint. But a whole different load of thoughts go into that compared to live performance, and it's really fun. It's almost like putting a puzzle together, figuring out where the pieces fit.
I respect you're enjoying that as putting a puzzle together
instead of just banging your head against the wall.
I would rather any day I will take the emotional experience of a live show over trying to record. And because again, it's that, like you said it at one point, it's the letting go thing of just like you can't grip onto it too hard, and I want to grip on so bad. I want to make it perfect, and it's not going to be
It'll never be perfect. It will be, it'll be what it's supposed to be at some point. And it's about fine-tuning yourself to know when that moment is.
Yep, Isaac, I've heard you say it here in our conversation, and I've heard it with my own ears, the importance of harmonies, right? And between you two, when you're recording a song and not performing live, do you sing together, or do you lay your tracks down separately?
So this is my dream, will, until it happens, be being in a studio where we are balanced well and can both be singing at the same time. Most of the time, tragically, we lay our harmonies down one at a time
because we have one microphone.
But I would love to.
Absolutely.
It pains me not to be in the 3-dimensional space when I am mixing, if you will, with my own ears and my attempts at dynamics.
So that must be such a feeling of release in a way, to be able to get together and sing those songs live with each other, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. The easy answer is yes.
Yes.
It is always so fun. And I think even though we've only been playing music together now for about a little bit more than a year, since we know each other so well, I could follow your lead. And I know, like, if you're going to add a new harmony in or a little run or something, we are able to play off of each other in a way that it can be rare in bands unless you've been playing for a long time. So I always really appreciate that we are able, that we work on that skill and try and do that in our live performances.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be a question of mine, was how the friendship, which I think you told us before, goes back quite a ways, informs the artistic relationship. And I think I heard the answer to that, Stomping Jen. Now, are you concerned? Like, how do you keep your friendship healthy? Like, because you hear, you hear about Simon and Garfunkel breaking up. I mean, we don't want this high tea breaking up.
Metallica had to go to therapy.
Metallica had to go to therapy.
Oh, to be
like my favorite arc ever. I love that.
Are you conscientious of the stresses that the artistic relationship might place on the friendship, and do you try to take care of that too?
I think we've had to work and are still working on learning what that kind of business line is. Like, we have this thing when we go to shows, we're like, business, we like shake hands. It's like you enter, even though you're obviously still as comfortable as you would be if you were sitting on the couch watching Netflix, you can mentally go into a different space of being in the shoes of, artistic partners.
It's when you go in to try to accomplish an objective with, I'm making this sound really rigid, but when you go in to accomplish something, with a group of people or even with just one other person, like, there are going to be little bits you not even necessarily disagree on, but don't find yourselves in the same places immediately. Exactly. So like you have to be communicating about, everything constantly. Which is also just what I believe you have to do to keep a relationship healthy.
And I think also, again, because we know each other such a long time, it's much easier, for instance, than I'm in another band where I don't know the members as well. So it's not like I'm ever going to be like, that's a stupid idea. And I hope I don't do that with you. But I am much more relaxed and saying like, oh, this is so frustrating, or God, I hate this song, in a way that I won't be if I'm with people that I don't know as well. And you like want to almost kind of keep up a good energy. And so we've worked on making sure we're still, not feeling so comfortable enough to, not want to make sure we're really respecting each other as musicians and not just relying on friendship to carry us through.
Because, when it comes down to it, like as I said before, like this is just another form of expression. This is sound as expression. This is like language without the, logistics of individual definitions. Like your dynamic is going to come through when you make music together. It's just gonna.
And like I remember one of the pieces of feedback I got from my parents when we first were performing live and not doing live streams was my mother said, "You guys are only looking at each other on stage. You gotta look at the audience," because we realized we were so comfortable being up there together, and we've been doing live streams from the floor of our apartment for so long and got used to just it being the two of us sharing music that we had to kind of break out of that comfort zone and push ourselves to bring in the other people in the room into the dynamic and into the music in the moments that we were hopefully creating.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think I understand this stomping.
I know.
Jen.
I was just going to say, we should shake hands when we sit down at the microphone.
Because we're married. That's not a secret.
Don't tell my husband.
But
you're like, we're what?
Yeah, you've got me wondering though if I pick this pseudonym of Sawtooth Frank and you're Stomping Jen, so we can like have a separation here when we sit down at this board.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Interesting.
Interesting.
Well, you do like to look at me a lot. And
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different
on podcasts. No one's tracking your eyes. You can look wherever you want.
Yeah.
I do also just think it's really great to like I had a random FaceTime with my uncle some months ago that was just really awesome because I had realized I'd never really gotten to interact with him outside of the social ties that we grew up with. Like I knew him as my uncle. I didn't know him as a person, and like that sounds weird. I know.
No,
I
it
don't,
doesn't sound
I don't
weird.
mean to make the assumption that everyone, but like I think we occupy slots in each other's lives, and you grow up as a pattern seeking human looking for ways that you can identify what someone is and how they will behave,
and then you add
like
another facet to who they are in your life, and it's a whole new journey.
Realizing that someone, so I like close to the end of the call I said something about like I realized that he had a bunch of degrees, and like I didn't even know what degrees he had. Like I just knew he was really smart and like played piano well and stuff, and I was like, I'd love to hear more about that. And he basically responded with like, I'm actually glad you don't. Like that's what everyone sees me as. I write on resumes all of my degrees, and that's what I am when people meet me. They already know about the degrees, but they don't know anything about who I am emotionally. So it's kind of great to be seen from the perspective. Ways. Yeah. So I don't know. For what it's worth, I think it's awesome. Yeah. I know this 22-year-old's perspective means a ton just to come, but I don't know. I think it's awesome to get to know the people you're closest to,
in different
with
ways.
that,
Yeah, I love that.
Of pseudonym.
Do you perform in front of your parents or other people who have known you a long time? And is that strange for you in any way?
Interesting question.
I want to know your answer.
My answer is that, my parents have been seeing me perform and knowing that this was my life path for a very long time. And they did a wonderful job supporting me while not stage parenting in a sense. Like my mom always made it clear. She's like, if you want to do this, I will help you do this. But if you ever want to stop, you just tell me, it was that if I wanted to do it, they wanted me to do it well and put my all into it, and be serious about it. But it was never, I never had to do any specific thing. And I think she grew up not knowing exactly what she wanted to do in it. Like we were talking about career paths. She went down a lot of different ones before finding what she actually really liked to do. So she wanted to make sure I knew I had that space.
Yeah.
But that being said, they always supported me through all the music stuff. They were always there for every show. Just recently as I, started college and went through that they learned they took a new, place in my world of just, not always being there and me, carrying my own weight on that. But they are still there at a lot of performances, and they've gotten to see us and me grow musically in a lot of different ways. And I think because of that, their feedback and their views are some of the most important in my life, because they know me musically more than almost anyone else except for myself, and even sometimes more than I do, because they're able to see all the things that I've done and am doing and want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd say yes and no, and specifically to whether it's weird, just because you get, I think especially on some songs more than others, but I think that when you're being honest on a stage, it the eyes, the wind of the soul is an annoyingly overused expression that is also just
very true,
so accurate. Yeah. And I think when you're on stage and you are feeling a song and you are telling a story and you are feeling those emotions, it can be really comfortable and even comforting to be emoting to someone who you already feel safe with. I'm one of the lucky ones who really like my parents, and that's it makes it a really special experience even to get to perform to them.
I think the interesting conversation, it may not be parents, but it's when you're performing a song to the person it's about.
Yeah.
That's when and sometimes it can be about family. I've written a lot of songs about my family. None of them are diss tracks. I'm not being mean, but still, you're sharing inner thoughts about either people or relationships that you may not say to their face in any other situation. And suddenly you are on a stage with the lights on you, and they're sitting there watching, and that is a strange experience.
Yeah. Well, and even if it isn't about them directly, performing to someone who who might not be comfortable with the emotions coming at them can be a really scary thing, because you can put people off pretty easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a risk that you take as an artist, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you, Isaac, you described your business kind of ritual you do, when you go to do a show. Do you do any other kind of pre-show rituals? Do you, I don't know, stand on your head and eat an orange or something like that?
Oh, let's see. I like that usually when it's a longer drive, there's always some song that we end up jamming out to. We're this is our release song. This is the song we're going to kind of shout to, or, whether it's, I don't know, we did some Pup, I think, driving to our show in Boston this past week, or just, finding nice ways to release tension or release any kind of anxiety and just get into the mood of moving your body and feeling the music.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. You eat. You eat. You're I'm hungry.
If we're about to play, I eat. If we're not about to play, I just eat.
Eating is good.
Constant state.
Yeah. Eating's great.
But I think just a tangent about musicians that I really appreciate and respect in their ways that they prepare for performances. There is a folk band called the Neilds, which is made up of the mom of another bandmate of mine and her sister, and they've been around for a long time. They are fantastic. Yeah, they're from the area, Katrina and Narissa. And so my other band opened for them a few times when we were younger, and I'd always watch kind of what their pre-show rituals were. And Narissa would be, outward with people, walking around, doing her warm-ups, but then always right before the show, she would end up sitting quietly in a corner of the green room, eating a salad, and just kind of going into herself, going inside of her mind, and just kind of shutting out everything else and centering before the show. And I think that is so important, no matter what kind of music you're playing. playing, I love to have that moment where I just breathe and I say, okay, I'm here, I'm present, and I'm ready to do this, you know?
Oh, yeah. Expand that to no matter what you're doing, whether you're playing music, whether you're, I don't know, giving a speech is for some reason what came to my
Going
brain.
to the grocery store, whatever it is. Taking that moment to center yourself is important, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when they say, you know, dress for the job you want, or like, you know, like if you work from home, like don't work in your pajamas, like dress for work.
Faux pas of mine.
Yeah, which I do all the time. Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. Do you consider yourselves like a Western Massachusetts band now that you're living here and working here? Like, where are your roots as a band? Where do you think of yourself?
As a band,
Massachusetts is the
Western
ease.
Mass.
Well, I say Massachusetts in general because your roots are so strongly, I think, within the city, and we perform there a lot as well. But we have, we recorded our first album out here. We're recording our EP out here. So these are probably where our roots of now are.
Yeah.
But they move with us. They move with our music, you know. So I would hope to expand so that they're all over, you know, New England and the country and, you know, all of that. But
Before we play a song off your album, I want to ask you, what are the most challenging parts about playing live? Like, are there like moments when you're up there and a bug flies up your nose? Like,
yes, like literally, yes. I'm actually at the show that you saw us at. The mosquitoes were crazy, and a bug flew in my mouth, and it did not come out. And I don't really want to focus on that or reflect on it. Yeah. But those things happen. Let's see, I've gotten a lot of hair stuck in my mouth, or just like stuck in my eyelashes, or going the wrong way.
My answers are much more zoned in on social anxiety, but I think we're bizarre as a species, and I think we do a lot of weird things, and it's very easy for me to find myself in a space where I'm thinking about that and then overanalyzing the way I do everything, including making eye contact with people. So then I'm just like looking around, like trying not to, but also trying to just enough. And then I'm like, oh, how much eye contact should I be making? Should I be timing this? And I'm like, I don't know what the fucking words are. I have to start in a second. That's funny. But
I think the other thing is that we do, there have been a few times where we both start talking, we're like, you know, and you kind of both start saying something, and you're like, oh, you go. Oh, no, you go. Please, you go.
But I am a firm believer to self-righteous levels in the idea that we should all be socially able to take up the space that we take up.
Absolutely.
So
get on stage, do your thing.
Exactly. So if you
whatever
can slip
that thing
into
might
that
be, absolutely
mindset, it's pretty easy.
Absolutely.
It's a brave thing to do, and you two are really great at it, I have to say.
We very much appreciate that.
What song do you want? What song do you want me to play? I want to get. This is an artist's choice.
No,
I've got your album up here.
The album. Ooh.
Well, let's see. The live song was our more soft, folky side, but we could show a little bit more of our rockin' side. Long Gone?
We can do Long Gone.
Let's do Long Gone.
All right, let me pull it up here. All right, folks, we're going to play High T's Long Gone. And if you want to, we can just let it play. And if you want to jump in and say anything while it's playing, feel free. I'm going to sit and listen. I'm not going to say anything, but we'll just let it play. Ready, Stomping Jen?
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. I'm going to play this. Hopefully it works. Let me just, it's muted. Okay, here we go.
I've been feeling spaced out in this room. Can't seem to kick it. Can you help me out? I've been getting up and going through all the motions, but I'm checking out a wasted heart. I feel like it's the start. Stuck up at Mini Mart, not driving in my car. Oh, I need some space. You know I need some space. This drippy, droppy world isn't quite to my taste. Get it started, baby. Get the engine heavy. Trying to kick it lately. I'm just trying to have a good time, and
The one thing I have to say is that the music video has us on tricycles. So if anyone's interested in that, please check it out on our YouTube channel.
We now have to.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
A day trip to the moon. I won't make my life too hard. Won't try to forget. On a lazy afternoon, an oozy brain. Nothing feels the same. Maybe I'll go insane. Maybe I'll break the game. Oh, I need some space. You know I need some space. This drippy, droppy world isn't quite to my taste. Get it started, baby. Get that engine healthy. Tryna kick it. Lately, I'm just trying to have a good time, and I'm long gone. You know I'm long gone. You know I'm long gone, babe. You know I'm long gone. An oozy brain. I wanna feel some way. Get it started, baby. Get the engine. Get that engine healthy. Tryna kick it. I'm tryna lately. I'm just trying to have a good time, and I.
I love that bass.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was a fun part to record.
And
How many tracks was that? Like, on top of it?
So many, dude.
So many.
It was the vocals. There were so many vocals because I remember I did the harmonies, and then I was like, I'm going to just like stand way far away from the microphone and shout and see if that works. And it did.
Yeah.
I felt very stupid standing alone, just like shouting on the middle of a Tuesday. But no, we had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, that's super cool.
that's cool. I love that. I have to say this. This is going to sound weird coming from me, given the way I look. One of my favorite singers is Justin Bieber. I love his voice. I was picking some Bieber vibes up there at the beginning.
Oh.
So like really smooth, like.
We were listening to the Biebs in the car this
Were you
morning.
with the kids?
Yeah, with the kids.
Yeah. And I love his voice.
Oh, I love it.
What's that song?
Which one?
Good timbre.
My mama don't like you.
Oh, you love
she
that
likes
song?
everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love. Yeah,
I love yourself. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Sassy.
Love you. Yeah. I don't know. It reminded me a little of that song. It popped into my head. Not the melody,
We'll
but
take
just
it. Oh, we'll take
just
it.
the smoothness of your voice and that. And
Yeah.
Isaac, you were really centered in that song there.
Trying, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the great thing about being in a band in general, because it's so easy in everything in life, it's so easy to do something yourself and you're like, that's not good enough. We can hype each other up. Like I hear something and I'm like, hell yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like losing my mind over the vocals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's awesome.
It's especially helpful in that space of home recording where it's like, this is the seventh take.
And
hate
I still gotta
everything,
shout it. Yep, absolutely.
But we're gonna try.
You got me in the background just like, go, woo-hoo.
Now, can you play a song like that live? Do you have can you do the arrangement?
Well, we went through a whole journey this summer of trying like a drum pad and trying, backing tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it. And see, because we love doing these. And that's another thing about home recording is you have all the time to do all these layers. And then when it's you on a stage, you have four hands between you and that's it. So we tried doing backing tracks with our drum pad and it just kind of felt flat in my opinion.
Yeah.
In a way that just doing full live music doesn't when you're like a smaller band on smaller stages. You're not like in a stadium with an awesome sound system.
Exactly.
So we've basically taken those songs and found ways to perform them live, but they are very different than the recorded tracks. And that's one reason why we want to do an acoustic EP that more aptly describes what we do on stage.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But it's still fun to record and pretend you have,
Yeah.
30 different people playing instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so we have the acoustic EP coming out. When do we think that's going to be available for us to listen
That'll
to?
probably be in November.
Oh, that's soon. Does it have a name yet?
Yeah.
Are you still working on the name?
It doesn't. It's probably gonna be something around cowboys. That's the hint we'll give.
Okay.
We were thinking about our album art, and we were like, assless chaps. Are we gonna go that far? We'll see. So stay tuned to see how spicy we get on this new one.
Well, if you need a model, Stomping Jen is available.
What? No. No. Nobody wants to see that. Thank you very much. Preach.
I do.
Preach. You can see that upstairs. You don't need to have it on the cover of somebody's
And
album.
now we say goodnight.
We're gonna we're creeping out. We're gonna creep out high tea. Let's stop.
No.
Where's your favorite place to play? Like, where do you like to go?
We love Club Passim. I speak the royal we, I know.
Yeah.
But we both really love playing Club Passim in Cambridge.
Passim is pretty great. For logistical reasons, for nostalgia reasons, for me, I went to middle school in Harvard Square.
Oh, nice.
So, like, I just have a lot of memories of walking literally past Passim. And the thing about Passim is you can hear people who are playing.
Well, they
from
pump
outside.
it. They put a speaker out so they share the music with everybody
Which
else.
is great. And also, I just had so many melancholy, I don't really want to get on the T and go home yet afternoon.
So you'd sit outside and listen.
I hope someday I get to do that. And then I actually did, and it was kind of fucking crazy. So
Yeah.
That's
And then
awesome.
for the home roots plug out here, Hawks and Reed, I love those guys. I love that venue. That place is awesome for playing and experiencing live music in Greenfield.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, so we have the album, and it sounds like we have a bunch of shows, right, throughout the year.
Shows.
Yep.
Yes.
We got
Follow us on
shows.
Bands in Town or on Instagram. We post like crazy.
it's either high T or high T band.
Yes, those are the two options. So we're all over the place. Follow us on TikTok. We're figuring that out.
Yep. And if you're listening to this podcast, which I know you are, right? I'm talking to the listener, Stomping Jen, who I know is listening.
Right. If they're not listening, it's a problem.
How do we solve this problem if they're
Right,
not
this is
listening?
like a Schrodinger's cat or whatever.
Yeah. All of these links will be in our show notes, people.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
And listen, I'm going to say something that might be unpopular with some of our listeners. If you don't subscribe to this Apple Music, and even if you do, go buy this album, you scoundrels. It's excellent. Mm-hmm. It's really good. You'll enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, as we're going to wind into our last couple of questions, I just wanted to give you an opportunity. Anything else you wanted to talk with us about that we didn't cover, or anything you want to make sure we hit?
Oh, the floor is ours. Oh, God.
This is normally when I start talking about vibrations. And
Oh, my
tension,
God.
But we already
Can you tell which of us writes the to-do lists and which of us meditates? I think it's very easy to tell. No, I mean, hey, I'm also, for me, I love playing music. I love playing music with this guy. I love playing music in general. And I'm just so grateful that we are in a world where we can share that. And, COVID also really showcased for a lot of things, but, in my life, how much music and sharing music with people meant to me. I did a whole thesis on it in my senior year, and getting to do it again has just reinstated how freaking important that is to me and how much of my life revolves around that. So I'm just happy to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this experience speaks for itself. Like the amount of honestly, not only the amount of places you can go just off of art, if you just start doing it and oh God, I don't want to simplify because obviously there are about a million ways that it can be difficult to do this kind of thing. But when you make connections and when you start relationships with I'm an artist, with someone interacting with your art, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
We do it to share.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm
with
giving
us.
you one of these. All right, we're gonna move into our last two fun questions.
All right.
I like to see them as fun, Stomping Jen. Right? They're fun questions.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So you can't answer music. What do you like to do when you're not
I know you're.
playing music or, or doing
Wait, I have an idea.
or working. How
Let's
do you
answer for each other and see if we get it
Oh.
right.
God.
I'm gonna guess.
But you
I
have a
think.
few.
Well, mine for you is gonna be skateboarding.
No shit.
You love
Yeah.
skating.
Yes.
That's like your release of tension. You love doing it. You're good at it.
Accurate.
So that's mine for you.
Yeah.
What's mine?
Just
There's a right answer. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know.
Right answer.
I don't know.
Decorating things to be Halloween themed,
I do love Halloween.
no matter what time of the year it is.
It's true.
Journaling.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yes.
That was the only
Yeah.
thing of. And the call out Gilmore Girls.
Oh, listen, I've watched Gilmore Girls a few too many times. No, I love journaling. Yeah, I love journaling, and I'm not a good visual artist, and I have chicken scratch handwriting, as my parents call it, but I still love doing that in my free time.
All right. Excellent answers. Thank you. All right. This last question. Now, one of you is going to benefit because you're going to get a few minutes to think about it.
Oh, yes.
Right. And I'm going to start with Isaac because I think he's going to have an answer right away. I've got a feeling now after talking to you for some time. I think I know you. So we're going to test this. All right. What have you experienced that you cannot explain?
Wow.
Oh.
That's a great one.
I'm going to give you some mystical music to help you.
Ooh. I mean, my favorite experience that I cannot fully explain, though there are many, because God, I can't explain shit in the grand scheme of things, is I like time distortion. The most evident example has been like one time I have this vague memory. It was a Christmas thing, and it was during Christmas vacation, and I went to sleep, and I like remember being really tired and closing my eyes, and as my eyes closed and my head hit the pillow, I woke up, and like the night had passed. I don't know how neurology works or how our perception of sleep time works.
Yeah.
But it seemed like no time had passed, and I knew that I had just gone to sleep, and I also knew that the sun was up, so it couldn't have been like that. And on a more common level than that, I lose track of time constantly. And I say lose track of time, but it really is a much more distinct emotion in that you feel timeless, and like it could have been 5 minutes since you sat down, or it could have been 3 hours or a day, and you're not really sure if you're hungry or if that's just the normal gnawing of, I don't know. I like time distortion, and I cannot explain it.
That's a great answer. Thank you. What about you, Isabella?
Yeah, what about me? I think so. There is a word for this feeling. I looked it up once, but I still don't think that it aptly describes how it feels. But I realized at a point that there are things, like everyday things, like I think the first thing I realized was a pineapple that I never fully looked at. Like there are things, or a toaster. There are things that I realized I never actually looked at and like absorbed and perceived. It just had always been there. They're just like, or the couch in my parents' house. Like it had always been there. I had used it. It had been there my whole life, but I'd never actually looked at it. Looked at the kind of feet it had, looked at the color it was. And that feeling when you realize that is so strange and disconcerting. And I can't explain why my brain, like why it does that, or why you realize like I've never fully seen this thing or this person, if you want to get it to a bigger, more, larger scale thing, but just realizing how you might have missed things that have been around you always. So
I love it.
that's
Thank
mine.
you. Thank you both for answering that question. I really appreciate it. We learned so much by asking people that question, Stomping Jen. And they didn't get angry at us.
Nobody gets angry. Nobody gets angry.
We've had guests get angry.
Nobody has gotten angry.
I've seen flashes of anger.
They throw their headphones down, stomp out of their own apartment. They're like, I won't answer this.
We've had people on the hook squirming for minutes with that question. We'll talk.
We'll talk. Answers.
Oh shit!
Well, I feel like you immediately get like you're not.
Yeah.
It's not like what's your favorite thing that's kind of mysterious or that's kind of inexplicable. It's what's your favorite thing that you can't explain.
Mm-hmm.
Like already you gotta accept that you can't explain some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it hits you right in the ego.
I like that you asked me that question. No one has asked that
That's not
before.
true. Somebody asked.
Who?
I don't remember who it was, but
Did I answer it?
Yeah.
What did I say?
I don't remember.
Well, I have an answer.
No.
Real quick. I sometimes wonder, like, when I sit down behind this board, it's like I gain this ability, I think, to be able to do this. And like outside of this, I can barely function. I can't talk to a person for 2 hours. I can't. I wouldn't be able to. No. I can't explain that. Something happens. It's like the lights and like the microphones and like that feeling of conducting something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stomping Jen? Oh, geez. It's going to be a rough night here in the Soft Serve podcast household. Okay.
Did you get those assless chaps?
Oh, boy.
Pull the assless chaps.
I can't explain that.
Okay. Isabella and Isaac from High Tea. Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed this conversation and in learning about the amazing people behind the music. And we're going to be keeping an eye on you. So, hopefully you can come back on here and later in the year, and we can
come back to the Belch anytime.
Have you play some more music.
Absolutely.
Stomping Jen, help remind me, what do we need to do now? We need to tell our listeners some stuff, right? So
if you like our episodes,
what do they need to do?
subscribe,
Right.
download,
Right.
share with a friend.
Share with a friend, right? Tell
Leave
a
us
friend
a
about
review.
us, right? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps. That
Engage
helps.
with us on social media.
Yeah, maybe by the time this one is out, our website will be up.
It's
That's
possible.
a possibility.
I mean, it could happen this year.
We had a photo shoot. The
other night.
That's exciting.
I was wearing some kind of fur jacket,
Yes, that's true.
right?
Not me, though.
You weren't. Anyways, all right. So look for that. Look for pictures of me in a fur. High Tea, seriously. Thank you so much, Isabella, Isaac. We have a tradition of going around here and saying bye now, right? That's our sign-off, Stomping
That's
Jen.
right.
So maybe you guys can do an a cappella bye now of some kind. You could sing it to us.
Now,
Bye now.
acapella.
Bye
Yeah.
now. That sounds like I'm like a J.J. Wentworth news. Did you not know that
My problem is
commercial?
that every commercial like that filters into "We Are Farmers." Bum ba dum bum.
That's
bum.
true.
my God.
For me, no matter what I hear it as
true.
JJ
That's
Wentworth.
true.
Bum ba dum bum bum
Yeah,
bum,
yeah.
and I don't know what
Okay,
that
focus. We
actually
have to say
is.
goodbye. Focus. We can't keep the people.
It's bye now.
Yeah.
You could just go bye now.
Bye now.
Yeah.
Will that work? Ready?
Bye now.
Oh,
There
I
you go.
love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. And after we're done with the outro music, you two hang out just for a bit until it ends playing. Stomping Jen, give me a bye now.
Bye now.
All right, folks, you heard it. I'm getting the final bye now. So do you want the final one?
No, you can have
All right. Bye now.
This world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth. And that in the goodness of time, all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road.